The moment you settle into your chanting practice, a question often arises that has puzzled practitioners for generations. What exactly should I be thinking about? This concern, while natural, reveals a beautiful truth about the practice of chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. Unlike many spiritual disciplines that demand rigid mental control or specific visualizations, chanting offers something far more liberating: the freedom to be authentically human while connecting with your deepest wisdom. When you first approach your practice, there's wisdom in beginning simply. Focus on establishing a clear, steady rhythm, much like a musician tuning their instrument before a performance. Listen carefully to the sound of your own voice as it creates the sacred vibration of Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. This isn't mere technique, it's recognition of something profound. The Lotus Sutra teaches us that the voice carrying out the Buddha's work has transformative power. Your voice, in this moment, becomes an instrument of awakening. This initial focus on sound and rhythm serves a deeper purpose than mere concentration. It grounds you in the present moment while opening a doorway to what Nichiren Daishonin called the treasure tower of your own life. When you listen to your chanting voice, you're not just hearing syllables, you're connecting with the fundamental rhythm of existence itself. The mystic law, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, represents the underlying principle that governs all life, and when you vocalize it, you align yourself with this universal rhythm. As you settle into this rhythm, something remarkable begins to happen. Without forcing or directing your thoughts, the concerns of your daily life naturally surface. Perhaps it's worry about a relationship, anxiety over a work situation, dreams you've been nurturing, or challenges that seem overwhelming. These aren't interruptions to your practice. They're exactly what should be happening. Nichiren Daishonin wrote, "When we look at a person chanting the Daimoku, we see not just their voice, but their entire life force engaged in dialogue with the universe." This natural arising of thoughts during chanting reflects a fundamental truth about human nature. We are not meant to empty our minds of all concerns, becoming blank slates devoid of personality or passion. Instead, we're invited to bring our full humanity into our practice. The problems that weigh on your heart, the desires that drive you forward, the fears that hold you back, all of these become material for transformation when placed in the context of your chanting practice. Think of it this way. When you chant, you're not trying to escape your human experience, but rather to illuminate it with wisdom. The Lotus Sutra speaks of transforming poison into medicine, meaning that even our most challenging thoughts and emotions can become sources of strength and insight when met with the right understanding. Your worries don't disappear during chanting. They become bathed in what the text beautifully describes as your own intuitive Buddha wisdom. This concept of Buddha wisdom residing within each person represents one of the most revolutionary teachings in Buddhist philosophy. Unlike traditions that suggest wisdom must be acquired from external sources or through years of specialized study, Nichiren Buddhism recognizes that profound wisdom already exists within your life. During chanting, as your concerns naturally arise, they encounter this innate wisdom, not as separate entities battling for control of your mind, but as aspects of your being coming into dialogue with each other. The process is organic and personal. One day, you might find yourself chanting with deep concern about a family member's health. Rather than pushing this worry away, you allow it to be present while you chant. As the practice continues, you may notice subtle shifts in how you understand the situation. Perhaps you gain clarity about how to best support your loved one, or you develop greater acceptance of circumstances beyond your control. This isn't magical thinking. It's the natural result of engaging your deepest wisdom with your most pressing concerns. Nichiren Daishonin emphasized this point when he wrote, "The heart of the Buddha's lifetime of teachings is the Lotus Sutra, and the heart of the practice of the Lotus Sutra is found in the title Nam-myoho Renge Kyo." But he didn't stop there. He made it clear that this practice is meant to be practical, applicable to every aspect of daily life. When you chant with your real concerns, you're not being selfish or superficial. You're engaging in the very practice he encouraged. As you continue this process over days, weeks, and months, something profound begins to shift in your daily decision-making. The wisdom that emerges during chanting doesn't stay confined to your practice sessions. It begins to inform the choices you make throughout your day. When faced with difficult decisions, you find yourself naturally drawing upon the clarity and understanding that developed during your chanting practice. This transformation happens gradually and often without dramatic fanfare. You might notice that you respond to conflicts with greater patience, or that solutions to problems seem to present themselves more readily. These aren't coincidences. They're the natural result of repeatedly connecting with your deepest wisdom through chanting practice. The Buddha taught that when the cause is profound, the effect is transformative, and this principle applies directly to how regular chanting practice influences your daily life. The practical benefits of this approach extend into every corner of human experience. During particularly challenging periods, chanting becomes a source of renewed courage and confidence. When you're facing what seems like an impossible situation at work, or when personal relationships feel strained beyond repair, the act of chanting can reignite your determination to keep moving forward. This isn't about blind optimism or denial of real difficulties. It's about connecting with the inexhaustible strength that exists within your own life. At other times, the benefit might be more immediate and practical. You might be chanting about a problem that has seemed completely unsolvable, only to suddenly perceive a solution that had been hidden from view. These moments of insight aren't random flashes of luck. They're the result of engaging your intuitive wisdom with focused attention. The Lotus Sutra speaks of opening the treasure tower, referring to moments when our inherent wisdom becomes accessible and useful in practical ways. Sometimes, the benefit is as simple as maintaining energy when you're exhausted. Perhaps you're facing a deadline at work, caring for a sick family member, or dealing with multiple responsibilities that seem to drain your reserves. During these times, chanting can provide the stamina to continue when you thought you had nothing left to give. This isn't about pushing beyond healthy limits. It's about accessing deeper reserves of life force that are always available but often forgotten in our daily struggles. The beauty of this practice lies in its universality. No problem is too small or too large for chanting practice. Whether you're dealing with major life transitions or simply trying to maintain patience during a difficult day, the same principle applies. When Nichiren Daishonin wrote about the ultimate teaching for all people, he meant exactly this, that the practice works for any circumstance, any personality, any life situation. This flexibility extends to the very nature of what arises during chanting. Some sessions might be dominated by practical concerns, finances, health, relationships. Others might involve deeper spiritual questions about purpose and meaning. Still others might simply be about maintaining basic daily functioning during stressful periods. All of these are equally valid and valuable uses of chanting practice. The key understanding is that you don't need to judge or evaluate what comes up during chanting. Your mind naturally gravitates toward what needs attention, and this organic process should be trusted rather than controlled. The wisdom that emerges isn't separate from your practical intelligence. It's your practical intelligence enhanced and deepened through connection with life's fundamental principles. As each chanting session draws to a close, there's another important element to consider. Just as you began by listening carefully to your voice and establishing rhythm, you should end by returning attention to the sound of your chanting. During these final moments, scan your inner state and notice what you feel. Ideally, you'll sense joy beginning to well up from somewhere deep within your life. This joy isn't dependent on external circumstances or the resolution of the problems you were chanting about. It's what Nichiren Daishonin called the joy of the law, a fundamental life condition that emerges when you connect with your deepest nature. Sometimes this joy is subtle, just a quiet sense of okayness or peace. Other times it might be more pronounced, a clear feeling of vitality and hope. The instruction to continue chanting until you feel this joy might seem puzzling at first. After all, shouldn't we trust our scheduled practice time or chant for a predetermined duration? While structure certainly has value, this guidance points to something more important: the recognition that authentic spiritual practice produces real, felt results. Joy isn't just a nice bonus. It's an indicator that the practice is working. This doesn't mean you should force feelings of joy or become discouraged if they don't arise immediately. Like everything else in this practice, it's a natural process that develops over time. Some days the joy might be readily apparent, while other days it might be more subtle or seem absent entirely. Both experiences are normal and valuable parts of developing your practice. The joy that emerges through chanting has unique qualities that distinguish it from other positive emotions. It's not dependent on getting what you want or having your problems solved in specific ways. Instead, it arises from the simple fact of engaging your deepest life force with conscious intention. Even when external circumstances remain challenging, this inner joy can provide a foundation of strength and hope. Understanding this helps explain why chanting works for such a wide range of human experiences. Whether you're celebrating success or struggling with failure, whether you're in perfect health or dealing with illness, whether your relationships are flourishing or strained, the same fundamental process applies. You bring your authentic human experience into contact with your innate wisdom, and joy naturally emerges from this connection. The cumulative effect of this practice over time creates what might be called a wisdom-centered life. This doesn't mean becoming perfect or free from all difficulties. Instead, it means developing the capacity to meet whatever arises with greater clarity, compassion, and strength. Your decisions increasingly reflect your deepest values, rather than being driven by fear, anger, or confusion. This transformation often happens so gradually that you might not notice it at first. Others around you, however, may begin to comment on changes they observe. Perhaps you seem calmer under pressure, more creative in solving problems, or more genuinely optimistic about the future. These aren't personality changes in the superficial sense. They're expressions of your authentic nature becoming more accessible and influential in your daily life. The practice also develops what could be called spiritual confidence, not arrogance or self-importance, but a quiet certainty that you have the inner resources to handle whatever life presents. This confidence doesn't come from believing that nothing bad will happen to you, but from knowing that you can find wisdom and strength even in the most difficult circumstances. When you understand chanting in this way, the question of what to think about becomes much less important than the question of how to remain open to whatever arises. The practice teaches you to trust your own inner wisdom while remaining receptive to insights that might emerge from unexpected directions. This balance between intention and openness, between focused practice and receptive awareness, lies at the heart of effective chanting. The profound simplicity of this approach, beginning with sound and rhythm, allowing natural concerns to arise, trusting in your inherent wisdom, and ending with joy, reflects the accessibility that Nichiren Daishonin intended for this practice. It requires no special knowledge, elaborate preparations, or perfect circumstances. It asks only that you show up authentically and engage wholeheartedly with the process. In this way, every chanting session becomes an opportunity to practice living from wisdom rather than fear, from hope rather than despair, from your authentic self rather than from the limited ideas you might hold about who you are or what you're capable of achieving. The thoughts that arise during chanting aren't obstacles to overcome. They're the very material through which transformation happens, one breath, one voice, one moment at a time.